Well, Sudan has agreed to normalise relations with Israel, making it the third Arab country to establish ties with the Jewish state under US brokered deals this year. President Donald Trump announced the agreement on Friday. The US said it will remove Sudan from the list of state sponsors of terror if Khartoum compensates US victims of terrorist attacks. The Trump administration recently also brokered diplomatic ties between Israel and the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain. But the move has angered Palestinians. But Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu hailed the deal as the beginning of a new era for Israel.
Today we declare another dramatic breakthrough for peace. Another Arab country joins the circle of peace. This time it's Sudan. What a great development. In Khartoum, they adopted in 1967 the three no's of the Arab League. No to peace with Israel, no recognition of Israel, and no negotiations with Israel. Today, Khartoum is saying yes to peace with Israel, yes to recognition of Israel, and yes to normalization with Israel. This is a new era. Peace is proceeding with three Arab countries in the last few weeks.
I'm joined now by Sami Sockol. He's a journalist based in Jerusalem. It's good to see you, Sami. What's been the reaction to this US brokered deal between Israel and Sudan?
Well, I can tell you there have been very negative reactions from the Palestinian side. The President Abbas, Mahmoud Abbas's office, has initiated a statement saying that this is contrary to all the resolutions of the Arab League, reminding the Sudanese and others that according to the accords and agreements agreed upon by the Arabs, Israel should first withdraw from occupied territories, and only then there should be this normalization. The language that we've heard from Hamas, Islamic Jihad, was even stronger against this. But I can tell you that if we compare it with the reactions towards the relations with the Emirates and the Bahrainis, what you hear among Palestinians is that they still hope that the Sudanese people, the Sudanese people who have been supporting the Palestinians, that they will have a different position and that it's still not a done deal. I can tell you that on the Israeli side, of course, there's support for this kind of a step, the recognition and so forth, big achievement for Netanyahu.
Sami, as you say, Sudan is the third Arab country recently to establish ties with Israel. What does this mean from an international relations viewpoint? What impact will this deal have? Well,
this will expand the Israeli position in the Middle East, in the Arab world, but also in Africa. Because of the location of Sudan, we're talking not only about another Arab, another Muslim country, but also about a country that is in Africa. So it will, many countries in Africa do not have relations with Israel. And this is a big breakthrough for Israel. At the same time, there are also migrants who are living in Israel. There's a Sudanese community of some thousands of Sudanese who fled from Sudan, who escaped through Egypt to Israel. And there are asylum seekers that never got a status in Israel. And Israel is seeing this as an opportunity to expel them back to Sudan. And I can tell you many of them are very concerned. They do not trust the Sudanese government, and they feel that their life might be even in danger.
Sami, we have to look at the timing of this. The November US election is a little more than a week away. Is this a foreign policy victory for Trump?
No doubt, no doubt. The Americans have been pushing to have this kind of a statement at this timing. I can tell you that the Israeli Foreign Ministry was not in the loop at all. The Israeli Foreign Minister, Gabi Ashkenazi, did not know about this development. This is a secret channel that was pushed by Trump together with Netanyahu's advisors. And they were pushing to have it as soon as possible. And the next thing that they're talking now about is Saudi Arabia. And the big question would be whether Saudi Arabia will make such an announcement ahead of the elections That would be a big game changer here in the Middle East.
Sami Sockol in Jerusalem, it's been good to talk to you. Thank you.
Let's go to our Washington correspondent, Oliver Sallet, for more. Good to see you, Oliver. What's in this for Washington? Why did the US want to broker this deal?
Well, Ole, the same that was in the earlier peace deal that the United States brokered the Trump administration between Israel and the United Arab Emirates. And let's be frank, Donald Trump here, he urgently needs success stories in foreign policy. As you know, it did not go very well for him in the last 4 years of his presidency. Just think about North Korea, Iran, Russia, all the attempts that Donald Trump made to reach agreements, deals, and never really concluded or came to a conclusion. Now, if you take a closer look at that deal, and it really is a deal, we have to say, then Sudan was taken off a list, a sponsor of terrorism list, although Sudan stresses that this has nothing to do with the diplomatic relations that they're now starting with Israel. They're having economic advantages for that very reason, and it looks like that deal was economic advantages in exchange for a foreign policy success story, and that is a big achievement, of course, right now for the Trump administration as we're getting closer to Election Day.